Let's unbox the Black Series 6-inch figure of Padawan Jecki Lon from the Acolyte. Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it. Hello there, thanks for visiting Varykino, and today we have another Black Series unboxing from the Acolyte series. We were fortunate enough to find all 6 of Wave 1 from the Acolyte here in New Zealand, so of course we had to get them all. I've opened up Jedi Master Sol and Jedi Master Indara. Now I'm moving on to Padawan Jecki Lon. She's got some really interesting alien details, some really cool High Republic era costume details. I'm expecting this one to be a lot of fun to open up and check out all of these details after seeing those promotional pictures online 4 months ago. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Coming up really soon, we'll get the figure out of the packaging so we can take a closer look. She's got soft goods cloak I'm really keen to check out. But first, let's take one last look at this brand new Black Series style packaging. For the Black Series figures for the Acolyte, Hasbro has changed up the packaging style, and as much as I am nostalgic of the earlier styles, I really do like this new one. We've got really straight edges, very rectangular, nice black border here around the figure. We've got the Black Series logo up the top. For the Acolyte series, we have this strong orange-red accent color stripe underneath. It says Star Wars the Acolyte, and instead of the character name being underneath, we now have it up the side in a large readable font, Padawan Jecki Lon, and she is number 03 from the series from the Acolyte. I really like the nice new windows. They are much wider and taller. Because Jecki is a little bit younger, her figure is a little shorter, so we can see it full from head to toe in this window here. We can see she's got a soft goods cloak and a one lightsaber there as well. Moving on, we still have that really cool side panel art, but instead of it being angled, it's now just a hard edge like the spine of a book. I really like the artwork for Jecki. We've got her sort of with her hand raised. Interesting to have a Jedi character that's not holding their lightsaber in their side panel art, but I really like that. I think it is a very good likeness for the actress. We've got that accent color coming down the bottom with the character name Padawan Jecki Lon written down the bottom there. Moving on to the back, we've got that accent color stripe here again, 03 from the Acolyte. A bit of a zoomed in crop here of that character art. Again, absolutely fantastic. We've got the character name, Padawan Jecki Lon, and usually we have a bio blurb for the character, but for the Acolyte, Hasbro was trying to avoid spoilers, so we have a blurb about the series itself. At the end of the High Republic era, a former Padawan reunites with her Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes, but the forces they confront turn out to be far more sinister and personal than anticipated. And that blurb repeats a few times in different languages. Very high level, doesn't even name the Padawan there. Of course, down the bottom, we've got just attention, copyright, all of that kind of stuff, barcode on the underside. These new packages are much thicker cardboard. You can kind of see from the cross section down here that it is corrugated cardboard, so they are nice and sturdy. Does make it a little bit harder to open, but we've got this nice little cutout thumb tab for opening up at the underside there. Just that one piece of tape to snip through, and we can open it up there, which is really nice. We've got the window, which is attached to the box. If I slide the character tray out, the window stays intact in the box, which I do like with this new style. The window wraps around to the side, and instead of a window at the top, we've now just got plain black, which I gotta say I like from a collector perspective. I don't have to dust out of that little window. If I just quickly compare it to the older style packaging, we can see that the new one looks a little bit wider, and it is also a little bit shorter, and we can really see the size of the window here. It is much more sort of really showing off the figures inside, and the accessories don't sort of crowd around the figure quite as much. Of course, we've still got the side angle art looking really nice, but if you like to line them up on your shelf, these will slot in like a book. These ones, you either had to sort of tip them to the side to get that art all to line up nicely. If you tip them to the side, they kind of made this sort of wedge shape, which wasn't my favorite. So overall, I'm really liking these new boxes. I think there's just something really sharp and clean about them. Of course, it's frustrating for mint in box collectors. The format is changing yet again, but I think this one is an improvement. At least we don't have that windowless plastic-free packaging that we had there for a while. This is definitely an improvement. improvement over those ones. But let's get this figure out so we can check out all of the details. To open up the box, I'm going to just snip that little bit of tape. With the harder cardboard, it is a little bit tricky to get your scissors in there to snip through this piece of tape. If I can just get the scissors in there. Let's get that snipped open. Did I catch it? There we go. And now we've got the thumb tab to open it up, and it opens up really nicely once you've got that tape cut there. The cardboard tray is a little bit tricky to reinsert, so I'm just going to slot it down like this. We've got the little copyright piece of paper there in the underside, and if we pull the tray out, we can see that the insert has a little bit of printing as a backdrop there behind the figure. It is a little bit different for each figure, so that is unique. We can see the accent color there as well. And we can also see that the window stays with the box, so it looks really nice. Taking the tray out, we can see Jecki posed here with her soft goods cape and the one lightsaber accessory. The cloak is tucked nicely through the plastic. I find with the two that I've opened so far, this packaging does keep the cloaks nice and wrinkle free. So let's snip the sellotape and get her out. Now I have Padawan Jecki Lon out of the packaging, as well as her lightsaber accessory, but of course I'm going to start by checking out Jecki herself. First things first, she has a soft goods Jedi cloak. I love the soft goods cloaks in the Black Series line. Something about the way that it always falls on the figure looks really great. It is covering up the arm details, so I'm going to take a look at the cloak on the figure, then I'll remove it so we can see all of the details and the articulation underneath. I've found that once I got all of the figures in hand, I actually noticed that all of the soft goods cloaks are different colors, which I didn't really pick up on in Hasbro's promotional images. I think that was really fun. It's going to be different. Hers looks much more of sort of a mid brown. I think hers is going to be a lot lighter than Soul's and a lot more brown toned than Indara's. Those are the two that I have open, so I've got those on hand to compare in a short little while. I really like the way that they have sculpted the cloaks, and if this is like the other ones, let's have a little look. The hood is actually stitched in place here at the back. You can just sort of see a few stitches, because if I tug on it, you can see it is attached there at the back, and you can even see light showing through the back. So the hoods cannot be worn over the head, but I do think that this particular stitching style does mean that we've got these fabulous folds, the way that the hoods sort of sit over the shoulders, so we don't get sort of a lot of bunched up stitching from the sort of attachment points around here, because this is such a focal point of Jedi characters. I really like the way that the hoods just sit over, because the hoods on Jedi cloaks are really big, and if you sort of make it fall really nice and voluminous here in the back, it just kind of puffs and sits really oddly around the characters, unless you've got wire in the hood, and that's a whole complicated thing. So just fresh out of the box, the way this is sitting on her, it just looks absolutely fantastic. Good length on the sleeves. I can see the stitching there. We can just see the hands poking out. Of course, if we're going to articulate the elbows, it's going to bunch up a little bit, and we can kind of get a little bit of a better look there. See if I can click that in just a little bit higher. So we've got that sort of still lots of volume there in the sleeves, and the hands stick out quite nicely there, because of course we don't want the hands kind of disappearing into the robes if they're going to be holding onto a lightsaber. This makes me a little bit nervous playing with the articulation when I can't see the angles. A little bit longer on this side. I feel like I would have to pull that back a little bit there. But still, we've got a pretty good pose going on there with the robes. Looks pretty good. And let's just tuck it out, because it was a little bit tucked in under the arms, so we can sort of fully see it round the front. If I just give that a little bit of a tug there, we can see how it's going to sit around for the lower half. You can see I just love how nice and clean this looks. The way that they have it sort of inserted through that plastic tray just keeps it looking really nice. We don't want crumpled soft goods cloaks there. We can see the nice tidy stitching there on the inside. It isn't lined. It is the same color on the sort of outside and the interior there as well. Overall, I really like the fit of this one. The back on this one is a little bit curved upwards, and I'm not sure if that is accurate or just a little bit of a quirk with my particular figure. You can just kind of see it there, and I can see it a little bit when I've got the figure. She's going to stand up. When I've got her posed there, I can just sort of see the angle there in the back. but overall I think it's pretty even. I like the way it's sitting on her. I love the sort of orangey warm yellow tones of her whole costume, because of course she is not completely human. We've got some alien features to check out there as well. I really like the soft goods on this new Acolyte series of Black Series figures. Just fantastic. So let's just quickly remove it. If I click her arms back down and sort of point them towards the back, I find that is the easiest way to take off soft goods cloaks. Gently tugging down here. And then we can just take a quick look at the internal stitching here. We can see those little stitches there holding the hood down in the back. We can see the stitching that was sort of hidden around by the neckline. Got a few loose threads here, but overall I really like the construction of it. And you can put this on another figure if you want to customize it, because of course it does just come off. She is a shorter character, so this won't work for sort of standard height Black Series figures, but I like how easily it comes off. It really does change the look of the figure. So now we can see Jecki here with all of her articulation and the details of her Jedi tunics. We've got a lot of yellow tones here. So I'm going to start off with the face. So of course, Jecki is not human. She is a feline human hybrid. Now, feline human hybrids we have seen in Star Wars before. The most prominent one that jumps to mind is Rystal Sant. She was in Jabba's palace in the special edition. She is one of the singers, the dancers there. She has more pink spots and sort of bright red hair, but of course we've got some of those features here. We've got these spots on Jecki's face, and we've got 3 horns on either side of her head, which is obviously a distinguishing feature of this particular alien species. Rystal kind of has these sort of, it always made me think of like rhino feet around the bottom, but you can see Jecki has human feet. She fits in human boots, much easier to perform on set, of course, for fighting and stuff like that. Some other versions do have those same sort of unusual feet as well, but Jecki has lovely white skin, which really translates well here. Of course, the makeup really shows up very strikingly here. I think this would be kind of really hard for Hasbro to have done, you know, even just a few years ago. This new generation of digital printing and the detail that they can do on their figures these days, this looks absolutely fantastic. I love the white color here. It's really quite striking with the orange and the dots. I'm hoping the camera will pick up on all of this detail. Don't get me wrong, I love my human characters, you know, I opened up Soul and Andara, but there's just something really cool about getting a sort of a new looking alien character figure with so many sort of unique details that we haven't really seen before. I just love these orange stripes. Fantastic. And of course, she's got this really unique haircut as well, because she's kind of got this short, choppy hairstyle to sort of fit around her horns there as well. And we've got her long Padawan braid here sticking out the front. So the Padawan braid looks like it is part of this. It's a little hard to tell. That would be a very small attachment point, but it is flexible. It kind of wants to just sit out where it is at the moment there. The hair looks like a separate sculpted piece, which is attached over the top. Look, good join. I kind of like the depth here because she has a very distinctive haircut. So I think the sort of 3D effect of having this being a separate sculpted piece over the top is the only way that that would have worked, especially sort of fitting in around the horns. I really like this horn here is so deep, but it just looks realistic that it's actually poking through the hair piece that's sculpted on the top. We've got a really nice join line here. Some of the characters where their hair is pulled back, the join line, sometimes you can get it just a little bit misaligned because the hairline is completely hidden under here. You don't ever sort of get that risk there. This all looks pretty well matched up, and we can see the texture. There is some sort of faint wash going on here just to really highlight all of the textures and the sculpting for that hair. There we go. It's just fantastic. So much detail there. And of course, her strong orange paint job there is just really sort of accentuated by the yellow tones of her High Republic era Jedi tunic here. So we've got some really interesting colors. Of course, such a difference to the sort of prequel era Jedi. Oh, and of course, now that her hands are fully exposed, we can see that her alien sort of spot marking is carried on here on the back of her hands as well, which is really nice. Same sort of coloring and paint job. I feel like her hands are made out of the same white plastic as her face. So the coloring, sometimes when you spot on characters, the hands are like sculpted out of a different plastic, so you get like different paint in different places. I feel like because the hands and the head are made out of the same plastic, the paint job for those spots is the same color. I feel like that's a really good match between the two. Really nice. I'm just fascinated by these spots. When I saw her in the trailer, I was wondering if we would see her in action figure form, because the detail on that, just the coolest. Okay. Moving down, we've got the very yellow-toned High Republic Jedi tunics. The style of this Jedi tunic is very, very similar to what we see in the prequels. We've got the undershirt, which is kind of more of an apricot sort of peachy color here. We've got the main tunic, which wraps across the body with those wide sleeves. And then we have tabards worn over the top, the yellow ones that we see here. The difference that I'm spotting in the High Republic era, especially in the Acolyte, is instead of the tabards continuing on as two strips down the back like we see on Obi-Wan and Anakin, in the back it is more like sort of a t-shirt or a vest where it becomes one whole piece of fabric. I think, having worn a Jedi costume myself, this might have been done a little bit to just make it easier on set, because I know from wearing those tabards, they really do like to shift around a lot. If they are completely attached together here at the back, they can't sort of slide across the shoulders. Personally, I really like this style. I love the two stripes down the front. I think it looks really cool. And we've got this sort of, I want to say it's like just sort of a fruity yellow. It's really quite fun. And we've got this sort of really sort of lemon yellow for the tunic. Just, I love the colors here. Really fun way of distinctly sort of making sure that everyone knows that this is a different era to the sort of very sort of tan, light color Jedi tunics that we see in the prequels. Anakin is his own thing, of course. He's very much dark colored there. For her belt, she has green accent colors, which I think is really interesting. We've got three different colors here. We've got sort of a mid-brown, a dark brown, the green, and then we've got some gold accenting details here. The little studs here at the side, so tiny. And of course, her High Republic era Jedi buckle there in that brilliant gold. Really nice, tidy paint job there on the buckle. That's the kind of detail that really throws my eye. If it's like a bit smudged or a little bit off center, really tidy there. Very, very nice. And if I lift her arm up, we can see some of her Jedi pouches and equipment on her belt there. A little bit plainer here in the back. We've just got those sort of panels continuing on. And interestingly, most Jedi have their attachment point on their left hip. Jecki has hers on her right here. We can see that little hanging attachment point with a peg hole, because of course most Black Series lightsabers come with a little peg for attachment. So we'll test that out there. We can see that, oh, that's actually kind of stiff there. We've got a split up the side of the inner tunic for an action figure. I don't think these splits are present on the original costume, and that is generally to sort of give us a little bit of flexibility. But her tunic, you can see it's a little bit squishy, but honestly, that's very stiff. I don't think that split is really going to give us much in the way of flexibility. And you can see there, just by flexing that, I think there is a tiny split at the top of my plastic there. Just when I go like that, I can just make out a tiny split. So I am not going to be stress testing this because I don't want that split in the plastic to run up any further than that already is. So that's generally why you get sort of a little bit of a circle shape. So to try and sort of protect against splits in the plastic from sort of splitting it there. This one also has a split to the side, and I probably did that just by testing that because I can see that forming. I generally haven't found that. I've generally been able to be just a little bit rougher than perhaps I normally would be while testing out the articulation of the legs. That is interesting that both sides have a split there. I kind of heard a creak when I went to flex the back just a little bit. I didn't think I was that rough, but there is a very, very tiny split in each side. So I am not going to be testing her thighs all the way up, unfortunately. I probably wouldn't be posing her in sort of high-legged poses anyway. So just going to check out the articulation at the arms. Obviously we can go up to about here. Jedi tunics do fall over the shoulders, so sometimes they can impact on how well we can move the arms around. And of course we do want to get some cool lightsaber poses, so we can see that I can get her arms comfortably up to about there, not any higher. And if I, oh, she's got quite a good bit of sort of movement there in her middle torso. I kind of like the way that the tunic pulls in tight around the belt, and we can get some good side to side. It's got a sort of a sticking point. There we go. Okay, so let's test out. She doesn't have, some of the Jedi characters from the High Republic era have sort of forearm armor. Soul in particular has these sort of gold elements that look really cool. Hers is just a plain sort of classic Jedi tunic with sort of the flowing sleeves that fall out. I like that I can kind of see up a little bit into the sleeve, that it doesn't just sort of stop with sort of a filled in edge there. I can sort of see up a little bit. She does have, I can see a little bit of articulation in the back of her hand, but I do find when the plastic sleeves extend towards the back of the hand, it does limit how much we can move the hands a little bit. So I feel like she might be one of those. You can see the articulation there at the elbows. I like the way the fabric is sculpted. The plastic fabric is sculpted hanging down there at the back. It kind of gives a draping effect of the Jedi robes. We've got the same sort of thing here where we can sort of see in the sleeve a little bit. We can see the back of the hand. This one, I think I might be able to get a little bit more, I can get a little bit more rotation, which of course is going to be important for posing with lightsabers, of course. So I should have cross-referenced. Generally speaking, Jedi hold their lightsabers on their belt on the opposite hand to where they hold it in. And I forgot to check. Generally, I go and test lightsabers in their right hand. This one's just a bit of a different sort of grip. You can see it's still kind of got a C, but it's a bit of a softer C. It's not a tight sort of classic lightsaber grip like this one is. Really just liking the details here. It does look a little bit, you know, simple because the textures are just very smooth and tidy, but that is just what the original costume is going to look like if it's made out of fabric. I like just the sort of the gathering details that Hasbro does these days, where it looks like fabric being pulled in and bunched by the belt being worn over the top. We can sort of see all of the just sort of the peaks and falls of the way that fabric hangs. It's just really nice. We've got a smoother texture than some other sort of plastic sculpted Jedi tunics that I've seen, but that is probably because of the original costume. Looking at it really, really close up, and I doubt the camera will even be able to pick this up, there's a really fine sort of fabric texture, and I can feel it when I run my fingernail down it. I can just sort of feel the texture. It's not a completely flat plastic, but it is so fine. I can feel it more than I can see it. I have to look up really close to see that texture, but it is there. The under tunic does have a little bit more of a plastic appearance to it, but that is not really going to be Hasbro's fault if the actual costume just does have a very smooth, plain appearance to it. I like the sculpting. I like the fact that you can kind of see the fabric, the folds of where the tunic front edge is coming in here, just peeking through between the two tabards. Really nice. She's got sort of like caramel colored pants here. I like that. We've got the pants sort of hanging down here, hiding the articulation at the knees. And she's got warm toned brown leather boots here with some ankle articulation. We can see that. She can point her toes nicely. Let's just test out. Oh, nice easy movement there at the knees. Let's see how deep I could get to about there. So she will actually sort of kneel quite well if we needed to get a figure into some sort of deep poses there, doing some cool ground poses. I'm a little bit annoyed that I've got those small little splits there on the side. Otherwise, I would be checking to see just by just a little bit of a peek. She doesn't have, and I thought maybe she wouldn't because she's a little shorter. We don't have that top sort of attachment point, the articulation point, where we can swivel the thighs sort of in an outward and inward motion at the top of the thigh. The articulation point is right here at the hip. We don't have a split at the top of the leg. But she's got shorter legs, so I wasn't expecting that. Of course, we can still swivel at the bottom half there at the knees anyway. So I'm not really going to be doing any testing at the hips, I am sorry to say. Personally, I generally keep my figures standing up straight, and I'm just a little bit sad that I thought this was going to be more rubbery, to be honest. It is a lot more stiff. Generally, there's a lot of give with these sort of lower halves so that you can get a little bit of posability there, but I would say just check your figures and just watch those top splits there. But overall, we can get her hands in together, so we can definitely do a two-handed lightsaber pose there as well. Overall, I like the sculpting. I am especially, obviously the highlight of this is her facial details. I love these. The spikes feel almost sharp. They're that just finely sort of sculpted and really well attached. I can't tell. I think it's really hard to tell if they are sort of independently sculpted and then glued on, or if they are part of the face sculpt. I gotta sort of get in there with some glasses or something, because honestly, it is so tiny. I love the detail. Just looks absolutely fantastic. Really fun getting different alien species in Star Wars. I know she's not completely alien. It's not a full sort of prosthetic mask or anything like that, but just fun. She looks fantastic. I really like that. Okay, let's take a look at her lightsaber. So she has a green lightsaber, and looking at the hilt, we've got some really interesting details here. I can make out 3 colors. So we've got the dark, sort of metallic, sort of silver in here. We've got a reddish brown here for the sort of main holding section of the hilt, and then we have a bit of a blue accent at the tip. And I'm noticing that on some of the High Republic character sabers, is they've sort of added a bit of a metallic bluing effect. You know, when you sort of get that heat treated on some metals, you get that sort of blue effect, and Hasbro has added that to this lightsaber accessory, which is really quite fun. I didn't even notice that in the box. It's a little bit subtle, which of course it would be, but really nice. We can see that we've got that peg point there, and like other Black Series, if I give this one, oh, that's very tight actually. Will this one come out? It's usually, there we go. That was a tight one. We've got a small attachment peg, and it's going to fit in there. I do wish Hasbro gave us both a lit hilt and an unlit hilt, because sometimes these pegs just make it hard for the characters to hold. So just going to test the attachment peg in there. Okay, a little bit, oh, is that sticking in there? It's a little just not quite going in there. You can kind of see the peg doesn't want to go in all the way, and I don't want to risk snapping that off, but you can see how that's going to sit on her hip there. You can kind of see the blue really shows up a little bit stronger when I put that in front of her yellow tunic there. I really do wish, for the sake of just accessories, that Hasbro would give us a plain hilt with an attachment peg, and then a solid lightsaber with this. Oh, that's such a tight fit. I don't like it. I don't want to. Why is it so tight? See, I don't want to have to remove my blades off lightsabers. This one's just got a little bit, you can sort of see the notch on the end of this. It's actually, and these little bits here, the attachment points, make it kind of painful to hold on. Okay, I'm not doing that again. That is a really tight fit. I appreciate that it's sturdy, but I don't like the feeling of potentially breaking my new Star Wars toys, and I kind of wish that they just gave us this part twice. That's all. Just one if I want to have a hilt, and then one for them to hold. And ideally, the lit version didn't have an attachment point, because it's hard to get that to sort of hide in their hands. So let's quickly check it here. So we can see her hand in a classic lightsaber grip. I'm hoping if I can just wiggle her thumb out of the way, she's going to hold that quite securely, which is nice. There we go. Really nice. I like the lightsaber plastic, especially under the lights. There's just a glow to the green in particular that kind of makes it seem like it's actually illuminated in some manner. You don't even need to think about sort of adding any LEDs or anything like that. They just glow under these lights. She looks great. Definitely really kind of finishes the whole look, putting the lightsaber in her hand. Of course, Jedi need the lightsabers in their hand. That's my preferred way to pose Jedi characters in the Black series. So, of course, now we have Padawan Jecki, but of course she is a Padawan. And we already have her master in the Black series line, Jedi Master Soul, who I have already unboxed. There, I'll have that video linked down below. But here you can see the two of them side by side, and he's just a little bit unsteady. There we go. So we can see the height difference because, of course, Jecki is shorter and younger. She is a Padawan, so she is nicely, appropriately scaled between these two here. And I think this is really fun when you start getting the Acolyte figures all out of their boxes and all together. I think that's where the real strength in this particular line is going to be, is getting all of the Jedi characters all together. And of course, as I've mentioned before, that Hasbro needs to hurry up and at least reveal the Stranger in both Black series and TVC lines. Just let us know it's on the horizon. I need that figure. And you can see the difference in the robes here as well. Jecki's robe is a lot more of sort of an orange, warmer tone brown compared to the dark chocolate brown of Jedi Master Soul's robes there. So I think it's really fun. They haven't just gone, yep, brown cloth, let's make all the Jedi robes out of that. That each one is appropriately colored and accurate to the characters. Because of course I have Indara here, and she has this sort of almost burgundy color. If I'm going to get these characters to stand all up, you can see we now have 3 different color cloaks all together. Absolutely fantastic that they're doing that, making sure that they're all accurately colored to the characters rather than just cutting them all from the same bolt of fabric there. I think these two look absolutely fantastic together. As much as I love them separately, I think they really do just come together as a pairing, because of course you've got to have a Jedi Master and their apprentice Padawan together. They just look fantastic. I love the details and just the scaling. Of course, she is the same price as the other figures in the line, and she is a little bit shorter, but she is a unique character. I loved her in the show. She needs her own figure, and I don't know what other accessory they would really put with her. So I think that that's fine. I think she looks fantastic next to her Jedi Master. Oh, I love the details of her. She looks great. I love the colors. This was a really fun unboxing. I am a little bit anxious about those splits up the sides. That is a shame. But you can see I had a little bit of a problem with Jedi Master Soul. There is a small split in his robe. You can just kind of see it there, this weird little cutout point. So there's always a few little quirks and things with Hasbro figures, but I love these nonetheless. I think they're really great. There's far more redeeming qualities than the 1 or 2 little minor quirks about them. So there you go. That was the Black Series 6-inch figure of Padawan Jecki Lon from the Acolyte series. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I opened up another Star Wars collectible and had a lot of fun checking out all of the details. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are in the galaxy, and let's hang out again very soon for more Star Wars fun. May the Force be with you. If you're a Black Series fan, I recently unboxed the Jedi Master Soul figure. That video is linked here in case you haven't already seen it, as well as our whole Black Series unboxing playlist. This is the way.